City Oilers is one of, or if not the most dominant club in Ugandan sports history across all sports disciplines, given they have won a record-extending 10 National Basketball League titles. But this new campaign of 2025, they have had a rocky start, losing their 2 opening games, 81-8 against Blazers and 74-64 against Jetty Jaguars. They have had to endure a limping squad without key players, Titus Lual and Faid Bale. We are going to discuss a lot about what the season has to offer for them and if they will be managing to extend their dominance this season. My name is Brian Kawalia and I welcome you to this exciting episode of the Inbound, where we talk local basketball here at the Sports Nation. And I'm joined by my good friend. I'm joined by a colleague, Albert Ahabwe, who breathes and eats basketball and is also a sports journalist. Albert, welcome back to the show. I don't know the last time we had a show together. By the way, that was 2 years ago when I came at home.
Less than 2 years. It was last year.
Last year?
Yes, it was.
Last
year. Kanti okora banji, wana ba celeb banji. Kati for us small men, we are very easy to forget. But glad to be here. Always good to have a conversation about basketball or anything else sport, because we are sports people. That's our social life. That's where we live, and it's always fun to have a conversation with people who know what's going on.
Yes, the season is already undergoing. This should be the third week.
Very interesting.
This should be the third week.
Yes.
But above all, we have a new sponsor. Why you are not yet swept away?
No, I am very happy for the new sponsor that came on board, and a sponsor that we already have a relationship with from the national teams.
Yes, of course.
And the best thing about this sponsor is that outside of conversations between owners and managers and players, the sponsor puts money directly in the pockets of the players.
Which is very good.
You will never understand, unless you have managed players on the local scene, you will never understand what 130k can do for a kid in the NBL. When that money compounds to a team playing 2-3 games in a week and winning all of them, you have put more money in terms of bonus in the pockets of players than they will make from the team in a month or two. So it's a very, very welcome shot up the arm, and I love it for our players.
Yes, and maybe let's just dive into this quickly. City Oilers have lost the opening 2 games, like I said in the introduction. Anything we can read from that?
Yeah, there are things to read from that. First of all, and I've said this to people before, I don't take too much from the opening result against Blazers. Why? One, they did not have their 2 best local players.
Titus and
Faid.
Yes.
The role players fought tooth and nail and kept that game until the last possession. Led by the oldest player in the Oilers, maybe one of the oldest players in the league, if not the oldest player in the league, Ben Komakech. He's 39, is probably one of the, if not the oldest player in the league. Now, for that team to push Blazers to that point, without their best 2 players, with all the players they lost to Blazers, without their captain Ivan Muhwezi on that day, it said much more about the character of the Oilers than it said about the step that Blazers had made forward. Yes. Because Blazers have won the opening fixture against Oilers before. Yes. It's not the first time. Oilers have lost the opening fixture a number of times before.
Yes, especially against those teams that we think that they are there,
that are contenders, and then go on to destroy the whole pack the rest of the way. The loss that should concern them, for me, is the one that followed. Jetty Jaguars, who lost to Blazers by nearly 30, I think 26 or something like that. That's not to say who they are. They are not 26 points poorer than Oilers, than Blazers, but then they are a considerably weaker team than Blazers, and they shouldn't have run over the Oilers the way they did most of the game. So for me, that's the one that should concern them. But the knowledge that at some point these two players will return and will change the side helps that. But for me, you don't want to rack up many defeats before even half the season, because that plays into who you end up meeting when the playoffs come.
Yes.
Secondly, it also now starts to create doubt in the minds of the younger role players who have just joined Oilers. You don't want them to have doubt, or to give other teams in the league an opportunity to think, oh, this is doable. So every team that comes up against you, which was previously despondent, comes upon you knowing that this scalp is available, they are not unbeatable, we can go after them and get something. That should worry them.
Yes, we've talked about Fayed and Titus being unavailable because we know their status that they are injured. By the way, they might be
available in the second round.
Yes, but the other episode, which I shot with Franklin Kawelu, he kept insisting that Ivan Muhwezi is still a player for City Oilers, yet there are rumors circulating that he has already left the club and maybe will be venturing into the Rwandan League. I don't know whether you have some inside sources.
I know almost as much as you that he's still an Oilers player on paper, that he is around, he's not out of the country, that he is fit, he's not injured, but that something is going on between him and management of the Oilers. From what I last heard, today is Sunday, from what I heard on Friday night when we were here for games, it appears he might have finished his time with Oilers. Now, I don't know if that means that he stays here and joins another club, or he goes out of the country and plays anywhere in the region or away from the region, but it appears that we might have seen the last of Ivan Muhwezi for Oilers. Now, for me, that brings a worry. That's too many long-serving players living at the same time. And under very peculiar circumstances. Yes. You could say one thing about the older group of three, Tony Oaks and Jimmy. You could say it is communication fatigue between the two of them. You could say that maybe according to management they had excessive demands. Maybe according to the players they were not respected as much and their demands were not met. Whatever you say, those guys had been with you for 10 years and they are in the evening of their careers. You can't say the same of the player you just appointed captain, who is 26 years old and is looking like one of the mainstays for a very long time. So if they can also up and live under these controversial circumstances, then there's something to be said about what's going on in the club. And the sooner you figure it out, the better. Before then, now we start hearing about Fayed and Titus, or we start hearing about Downer. Because now, in a very funny way, outside of Ben Komakech, those three are the longest serving players of Oilers outside of Ivan.
Very surprising,
which is extremely surprising. Yeah.
Titus and Fayed
2020
pointing guns.
2020, because the 2019 season spilled into 2020.
Yes.
We played the playoffs in 2020.
When you see you pushed the Oilers
into game 7. So those guys were already were playing for UCU. Just
5 years later, and they are there.
So it's
one of the longest.
Actually, I think up until 2021 or 2022, because they've only played 2 seasons with the Oilers. This is supposed to be their 3rd season.
True.
And they are already your longest serving players. That should be a cause for worry for the Oilers. So I don't know how they'll figure that out. One, it impacts their squad depth numbers. It means they're stuck on the 10 players that played on opening day, the 10 players that were on the bench on opening day, the 8 on the roster, the 8 on the game day, and the 2 who were in street clothes. The 10th player being Henry Mulira, who doesn't play often, who seems to not be as committed to basketball anymore as he used to be. So there's stuff to unpack there.
Then how much should an Oilers fan out there worry? Because, and by the way, before we reach there, let's first talk about the new additions that they made, including Edgar Mnava, Bolton Rujumba, Joseph Chuma, who else?
Emmanuel
Okum, yes, those 4.
Emmanuel Okumu is
and
a
how do
seasoned,
they fit into
Emmanuel
the team?
Okumu is a seasoned
Oilers player, yes.
Seasoned Oilers player, seasoned league player. He comes and goes, but he's played in the league for minimum 7-8 seasons.
Can we say the same about Chuma?
Chuma has been in the league since 2016 with UCU. That's nearly 10 seasons.
And he also had a spell at Oilers.
Edgar Munaba has played with KIU for about 5 seasons now.
Munaba Yavao.
He's a ginger boy. He came from Ginger.
Because my first time seeing him is still...
He's a ginger boy. He came from Ginger. He's from Ginger. I don't know the exact team before that, but I know he's a ginger boy. That's where his roots are. And the people who know him are ginger people. And that's not a bad group of players. And Munaba showed... Rujumba is a great rebounder, great hustler. He's done it with Ndeje. He gave City Oil some serious problems when he was at Ndeje as a rebounder.
But he wasn't
defender.
that an elite player that
yeah, he's not an elite player. But in a league that doesn't have a lot of elite big men, now you are looking for a serviceable big man. And he's a serviceable big man who probably comes on the cheap compared to the players that they always sign up. And I know that they have eyes on some bigs around the league, especially around the teams that have younger players, and especially the university teams. I know that they have some designs on some of the bigs in the university teams and are waiting for them to graduate so they can snatch them up. But Munaba is a very good addition. He showed you on the opening day against Blazers. He didn't play too badly against JT Jaguars as well. He's going to be a good player, and he's a good player that they can use at the 3 or 4. Combine that with Marwal there and Titus when he comes, that's still a really good team. So when Titus and Fayed come, they are still going to have a rotation of 7 to 8 players that can win you almost any game in the league, apart from the Blazers. The Blazers you saw on Friday, they are clicking, they are starting to click. Sebagara, Moses Mugisha are starting to learn how to play with Jimmy, Tony Ox.
Because the other three, of course, they have their own chemistry.
Yes, of course. Once they figure that out, there's nothing you can throw at them in the league that they haven't seen. Those three. Even in the region, there's nothing you can throw at them that they haven't seen. So once they start to figure out how to play better together, they are going to be a considerably different side than you saw on the opening fixture against the Oilers. They already were a different fixture team against the JT Jaguars on Friday, and we are going to keep seeing that improvement as the season wears on. So Oilers are not as much of a crisis as people seem to see, but for me my worry is the continued exit of players. How long can they manage it? Because if now one
continues
more player,
to patch holes into the management.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, if one more player leaves of the existing core of Ugandan players, now you have a full-on crisis. I don't even know if the exit of Ivan does not constitute some level of crisis. But we know these guys.
Speaking
we know
of the
Haji,
devil.
we know Hassan. Yeah. Saw him walking. I know Haji, I know Hassan. I know how competitive those guys are. And I know that in the second round, of course, they have Jermaine Roback.
Yes, and that's where I was going.
Yes,
because they have Jermaine and Petty Perry.
No, Petty Perry is not on their roster right now. But you can bet they are going to add him on their roster.
What do the rules say? What are the rules? Initially, they said that at least someone should have played around maybe, because what I know is that Jermaine may not even be available midway through the season, but might come and join the team in the playoffs.
Those rules changed.
Did they change?
Those rules changed. So now, as long as the half season, you are allowed to sign a maximum of 3 players.
Yes.
And those 3 players must feature at least one regular season game
to feature in the playoffs.
For them to feature in the playoffs. Now, last season, Petty Parish did not play any game in the regular season.
True.
So I don't know.
Did he start with UCU in the playoffs?
He started with UCU game 2 in the playoffs. So I don't know how that worked. I don't know how they did it between themselves and TC or CC. But that season is gone. We cannot dwell on that season. It's over. The season at hand. There are rumors that they are going to bring up to 4 players. I'm talking about Petty Parish. I'm talking about Jermaine Roback. I'm talking about Daniel Otobo. I'm talking about Falando Jones. The players that have been playing for them in Bar, we are hearing rumors that those players might be able to show up. But I don't believe it. Why? It's a very expensive venture. Not to say the
Might be
individuals,
worth it
not to say the individuals
for oilers who are always
but that's not to say
success
that
on the continent.
That's not to say that the individual owners of the oilers don't have that type of money. They do, but they are also very smart businessmen. The amount of money you're going to spend if you bring those guys, first of all, you can't bring all four. You can only bring
The
three
rules
of
permit
them.
only 3.
Yes, at the half of the season you can only bring 3. Now that may work because Jermaine Robach is on the roster already in the first round.
Yes.
So they might need to bring him in the first round to play at least one game.
Oh, so now
So that now he is not
the
on
additions
that
are
means
3.
the 3 additions completes the 4 in the second round. So that is possible. However, the cost of doing that and then going on and taking them on for the months of the BAL are very, very high.
But
in a league where you gain nothing financially, and in a BAL where it's a loss-making venture, because the money you get from BAL, first of all, most of it, the biggest percentage, maybe like 70 or 80%, must go into is supervised to go into the pockets of the players.
But Albert, yes, we can all talk about what oilers can bring,
Yes.
and so, but there are rumors that maybe these guys, the likes of Ivan, if it's is leaving, and the other trio who joined Blazers, like they left because they were discontent about how much they were earning from the club. And does Oilers still have those deep pockets to bring in those foreign players like you've mentioned?
First of all, contracts in our game are quite private. So we don't have a public platform where we can say we know how much those players were earning, both in salary and other incentives. The club has not made those figures public, and neither have the players. And it's not in our best interests to speculate on who was getting what and how much they didn't add them. What we have been told by the players, however, is that they made demands based on what the guys they bring in were getting
At bar.
and vis-a-vis their production. So a guy like Tony is telling you, I'm averaging a near triple-double and I'm scoring double figures. You're bringing a guy who is going to score 4 or 5 more points than me,
But he's doubling.
but he's getting 5-6 times what I get.
Not just doubling, but 5,
5-6. Those guys are the Fernando Jones and that type of players are $5,000 and above. So they are getting much more money than these local players are getting, maybe 4 or 5 times.
Yet the
but
local
the
players
production
also,
is not
commanding
that far apart. Yes, they are better. They are better players. Anyone who tells you that is foolhardy. They are better players, but the gap in production between them and the local players is not that
minimal.
in the view of the local players is not that much
6 times
to,
done as it reflects
to
in the
reflect
field.
the figures that they are earning. Secondly, the players say BAL has different levels of qualification. The first level of qualification for BAL is winning the championship. I'm the one who wins the
National
championship
Basketball
every year.
Yes.
You have number one priority should be me.
True.
And then the other thing that they have complained about, because I talked to some of these players, is that during the 2 months when BAL is played, April and May, they are not paid their local salary. They are paid the BAL money, but then they don't receive their local salary. Now the players say, if you are maintaining our local salary and giving us the BAL money, then we would be comfortable with what you pay the foreign-based players who come in. But you strip our local salary and you pay us the BAL money, but you bring in these guys, you pay them multiple times what you pay us, yet they are not producing much more than we are producing. There is the fallout point. And of course, I think some of these other guys, Ivan, whoever, I think they have asked for some other incentives that haven't been given to them. On the end of management, they also say that for them, they have given the players everything they agreed on time and sufficient and reliably. More reliable than almost any other team in the league, apart from, say, for example, a UCU or Ndeje that pay players by scholarship. They pay your school fees on time. So City Oilers will say that for us, everything we agreed with the player on contract, we pay on time and consistently and reliably more than other teams. So we don't see why the players are complaining.
Yes.
So that's the failure to agree that it seems to exist between the two sides of the coin, and it is causing a big problem.
Albert, let's first go back to the other foreigners that Oilers might be bringing during when the transfer opens. What do the rules say on the number of foreign slots?
So that's where the naturalization part comes in.
Wow.
2 of those 4 players have a Ugandan passport.
Jermaine
And Perry.
and Perry.
So they are not foreigners.
And how many foreigners do they have currently?
According to the rules of FIBA, of FUBA, as long as you have a passport or a national ID, you are a Ugandan. From what I've seen Jermaine Roback's passport. I just haven't seen Perry's, but I've heard about it. So those guys are naturalized Ugandan players. So if they are naturalized Ugandan players, then you cannot count them as foreigners. And then that means that only Otobo and Philando Jones would be the foreigners.
And how many do they have currently?
Currently,
Do they have
I think it is Marwal only.
Yes, Marwal died only that.
So they still fit within the 4 that are required by the federation comfortably, with a slot to give.
Salazar Blazers tezidia itam.
Yeah, but Blazers are not seated either. They will make adjustments to their squad.
Still?
They know what the problem, they know the force they have at hand. They know what Oilers are capable of doing in the second round.
Seeing that stacked
Believe me, they will
Blazers
lose force,
lineup,
yes.
where are they still lacking? Is it in the front court? Because, literally speaking, I think it's only Makiadu's the
two of their oldest players are playing heavy minutes in the paint.
Makiad and Ox.
And James Okello.
Yes.
James Okello may be 35, but he has a ton of mileage on his legs. If you expect him to go into the playoffs against a formidable side that we think Oilers will put together, if you expect him to go in there and carry heavy minutes, that's going to become a problem.
Because
eventually.
for the last
because
10
already
season,
in
he
the
has
first
featured in the last game of the season.
heavy minutes. And even right now, the first 2 games, Blazers and Oilers, and even Oilers and JT Jaguars, and even the game at Abuja Park against JKL Dolphins, he's played considerable minutes.
And Victoria Coates.
So you have to find him help.
Yeah.
So I think if they are going to bring in players,
And there are no available elite bigs in the league. They have got to
in
look
the league
outside.
they are not available. They
got
have
look
to
from
go outside the league.
Yes.
Now I can tell you two places if I were a Blazers either coach or consultant or manager.
Advice,
they'll
be watching
to show
this.
up. I'd be looking for a sniper on the perimeter, a shot maker. I would be looking
A Landry kind of?
No,
because
I'm
by
looking
the-
for a shooter, a 2 or 3 guard
I
that
thought
can
that maybe you are
straight
doing
up put the ball in the hole.
Yes.
You're looking for a shooter extraordinaire, a guy who gets off the bench, and you're guaranteed that every game you'll make 5 or upwards of that shots that
Where
can
did
really
this
score the ball.
KIU guy go? The KIU guard?
Atera Isaiah,
No. The Congolese?
Joel Banza
No,
is in the Blazers.
no, not Joel. They had that shooting guard they had. What's his name? The other shot guard. The other shot Congolese guy. What's his
Bwanga,
name? No.
Bwanga is in
From
Burundi.
last season.
From last season, I'm trying to remember. Oh yes, the guy who the number 0.
Yes.
I forget his name. I
That
can see
guy
his
on
face.
a good
but
day he could shoot lights.
yeah,
out
but
as well.
he's not the guy they are looking for. He's a combo guard. They have enough combo guards right now. Sebagala has showed you he can do very well at the point guard position
but
as
he's
a
not a
backup
good
to Jimmy and Tony. He's
not a good
great
shooter, just like
they
Innocent.
need for them to go to a level where they can meet Oilers. If Oilers bring those players, they need a shot maker, maybe almost Perry's level. So they need to find a shot maker, and they need to find a rim protecting big who can score in the pick and roll and make a jump shot here and there. So they need 2 elite players, a 3 and D player and a forward who can play at the 4 and 5.
Albert, we'll have a show when we'll be discussing Blazers at length. Let's go back to City Oilers. Keeping all other factors constant, maybe they add are like two elite players. Where are their chances this season?
The two are still the best teams in the league, make no mistake.
No, just Oilers, for example, if they're going to go head-to-head in a 7-game series final against Blazers. Like if they add, like if City Oilers are going to add Jermaine and maybe Petty, only those two. And Faed and Titus are already available.
They are still a force to reckon with. The most important addition they must make is a big.
That's City Oilers, right?
Yes. Titus is not going to do that job alone. Because
and we don't know how good
when
he will
push
come
comes
back
to
after
shove,
that surgery.
when push comes to shove, Munaba is still a 3-4. He's not a 5. So alongside Titus, you need another 5. I'm telling you that in a 7-game series between an Blazers constructed the way we think and an Oilers constructed the way we think, Rujumba might not play 1 minute.
Bolton.
So you will probably have Titus, Downer and Munaba. But they need help. They need another big. So for me, the biggest addition Oilers need to make first is a big. Then get another guard to help Fayed and Koma. Because Koma won't play 30 minutes, 40 minutes back to back in the playoffs. If he does that, if he meets a UCU in the semi-finals, or he ends up in a semi-final with like a JT Jaguars, that might end up being a 4-5 game series. By the time you get out of it and go to the finals against Blazers, you need numbers, you need bodies, and you need bodies that can not only play at a high level but be physically able. Because Ben Komakech can still play at the high level in this league. He showed us for free on opening day.
Yes.
The difference is, can his body take
Can
it
he give that
for
weekend
that a month where you play 10-12 games?
Including
In
those
a
at
playoff,
wives.
yes, on Wednesday nights.
Yes.
So a month that has maybe the last 3 games of the regular season, maybe 3 games of the quarterfinals, maybe 5 games of that's about 12 to 15 games in a space of 30-40 days. Can his body still take it at 30 minutes? Absolutely not. So you need help there as well.
Albert, let's first note for us what Oilers will add, but
Yes.
let's first narrow it down at what Coach Andrew Tendo should do, what strategies he should employ during this regular season, especially the first round, with that thin squad. What do you think he has to do to overcome these teams that have now realized that now these guys can be beaten?
You see, even before the arrival of Fayed and Titus and before the solving of the situation of Ivan, he already put up 80 points against that Blazers team. So what's not debatable is whether he has the squad quality or experience to win games against the lesser teams. He should be able to win games against the lesser teams because already Blazers and JT are now the top 2 teams if you look at the results. Them and Kampala Rockets are the top 3 teams right now.
Because
that means it is...
they have won 6 to 5.
They've won. So that means they have 3 wins in 4 games. So them, Kampala Rockets and Blazers are the top 3 sides right now. So Oilers don't have to worry too much about, because the squad they have can beat the rest of the league outside of that. Maybe if UCU steps up and they clear Chris Dushime and a few other players that they haven't cleared, because they had a very good performance yesterday against Res Life at UCU.
I missed that one.
But right now, the squad that Oilers have has the capacity to beat the other players, the other teams in the league, up until the time when their 2 players, Fayed and Titus, arrive, and when they solve this situation that involves Ivan Muhwezi. Now, you then are left wondering at what point next season do those reinforcements arrive, and at what point do they meet the Blazers, Rockets, Jaguars, UCU in the second half? What does the fixture look like? Do they then meet those guys when they have already added these players, or do they meet those guys in their existing squad? That remains to be seen. But currently, with the squad he has, he is capable of winning maybe 6 or 7 of his remaining 9 games.
With that limping squad?
Yes, with that squad, he can still win 7 of those 9 games. They have the pedigree to do it. And you may say all the players don't have the pedigree, but look at who is there. They are starting almost every other squad in the NBL. Comfortably.
Maybe let's finish this with your prediction at least. What's your prediction like? How do you think maybe if City Oilers adds those to how this regular season will pan out in terms of who will finish where? Like the top 4?
Like I've said, it depends on how early those reinforcements will come in the second half. Because in this league, the teams are so close that one player can change the result of 5 games.
By the way,
so it depends at what point those players arrive next
before
season.
That, I understand like that mid-season transfer window ends maybe before that second round tips off.
Yes, of course. The second round cannot tip off while they are still doing signatures. Even the first round did not tip off while they were still doing signatures. Yes. There was a deadline, and at midnight.
So the trick is, City Oilers will register there, but they may not come.
They may register them, and they don't. Jermaine Robach is not here, but he's registered. Jenna Sinde is not here. She's playing in Spain, but she's registered for JKL. Lydia Bavidia is registered for Miracle. She's not here. She's playing in another. I actually find that illegal. I find it illegal that there are players who are registered, but they are playing in other clubs or universities abroad. I think it is illegal.
I think the league committee should look into that.
Yeah,
by the way,
I did see it on the roster.
Is that inside their docket?
I saw it on the roster. Yes, not the league committee. It is the TCC. TC and CC. Those two people that just walked by. Yes, I did point it to the league manager, Edwin Baker. I pointed it actually to Edwin Baker, members of the CC, and the technical director of the federation, Nat Teresa. There is no way a player should be playing professionally somewhere while they are on another professional roster, all under the auspices of FIBA. And I think that's why City Oilers did not register Perry and those other guys, because Otobo right now is registered with APR in Rwanda. So he can't be registered in Oilers. If that can't happen for players that are on leagues across the continent, it shouldn't happen for players in leagues outside of the continent.
Outside Africa.
So there's no reason why JKL, legally, there's no reason why JKL should have Jenna Sinde on their roster. But she's on the roster. There's no reason why Lydia Bavidia should be on the roster of Miracle. But she's there. There's no reason why Amanio should be on the roster of KIU. But they are there. By
the way, because if you look at the two champions, City Oilers and JKL Lady Dolphins, without Jenna Sinde, you feel it could have been a different ball game.
Without Jenna Sinde, JKL does not win that series. Without Jenna Sinde, City Oilers, JKL does not win that series.
And maybe we can say the same, maybe against City Oilers, for example.
Yeah, if Petty Parish does not come, it's a different series altogether.
True.
Yeah.
So we finish this.
But that's the reason why they get those players, for them to be able to change series.
To give them that extra advantage. Above Wavera kicked out like that. Anyway, but we'll finish with the predictions. The top 4.
Top 4, I think
keeping all other factors constant.
I think the top 4 will be Nam Blazers, City Oilers, JT Jaguars, and one of UC
Nam Blazers, City Oilers,
Nam Blazers, City Oilers, JT Jaguars, and one of UCO Rockets.
Not KCCA Panthers?
No.
By the
one
way,
of
what's
UCO
making
Rockets.
that Sudulanga's tick?
They are fitter than everybody. They've been working out since the first day of the year.
Is it because of Leo Lubambola?
Yeah, that's. I mean, they have a strength and conditioning coach. How many other teams in the league have a strength and conditioning coach? They train consistently 3 times a week.
And by the way, they started their preparations.
Yes, they started early. Secondly, they have a very strong inside. How many teams have 2 bigs the caliber of Chuma and Sifuma? They are not many, and they have a group of young guards that they have grown for the last 4 years or so, since Duncan came from iHoops and him and Mark Were and those guys that they have on the wing, and that's before Agassi comes back. So they have quite a solid squad.
Why is Agas not playing?
I think it's a
commitments?
work commitment or something like that. Yeah.
Tetujja kubanga tusukawo. It has been a pleasure having a basketball encyclopedia in Albert Ahabwe. Thank you for watching and see you next time.